Hey, everybody. I hope you're having a good evening on this Friday. I don't know if any of Simon's people are out there, but Simon will not be on tonight. I'm going to give you the spoiler up front. Yeah, no Simon tonight. Those of you that are watching on the replay, welcome. You're going to enjoy this show tonight. We're going to talk about the top 10 guitar players of all time, and it's not going to be the usual suspects. Well, some of the usual suspects won't be there. Nice. People are already wondering what I'm going to say tonight because I don't have Simon to police me, to roll his eyes, to silently crush my soul when I want to say what I want to say. But I do have my good friend Gabe with me. Gabe, how's it going tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. Gabe is a pretty laid back guy. He just went on a ride. How long did you ride, Gabe? He did a cycling, right? You went cycling around New York City?
Yeah, I did 30 miles.
That's good. Cycling 30 miles around. Can you go around the entire city?
I go around the lower half of Manhattan and the East River Greenway in Brooklyn and Queens.
The East River Greenway, Brooklyn, and Queens. I can't imagine biking in the city. I see all these guys on the side of the road here in Atlanta, and they're absolutely nuts. All right, let's get rolling here. So we got some rules here. We want to get started. I will announce the winner of the Enya guitar this evening, sometime in the middle of the show. I want to start off by just giving a shout out to Atlanta Vintage Guitars. It's a guitar shop, obviously here in Atlanta. It's actually in Marietta, which is a city just outside of Atlanta. And I had the pleasure of going over there. Was it last Tuesday? And I met the guys, the owners, and they're really good guys. But the best part was I'm sitting there and they're handing me like one amazing guitar after another, like this, like a 1981 Rickenbacker 360, and then right after that, I think it was a Collings, like an archtop Collings. It was like on for $12,000. Just all these amazing guitars, one after another. And but anyway, these guys are really cool, and they've got a website. It's AtlantaVintageGuitars.com. They sell their stuff on Reverb, and I would just say that if you're looking for gear, I would check that first, because these guys are always willing to figure out a way to make a deal, and they really are just legit guys. So, and they're not paying me to say this. They're not on right now. They probably won't even ever see this, and they don't even know that I'm talking about them right now. How many did I buy? That's a good question, Rick. I did not buy anything. So this is funny. There was an 87 Rick 12 string they put in my hands, and the hang tag was down below. I couldn't see it, and I played it. It was the lightest Rickenbacker I'd ever played. It's literally weighed maybe 6.5 pounds. I mean, Rickenbackers are heavy. The 360, the one that I used to have, is really heavy. And this thing was just really nice and really easy to play. And I said, all right, if it's $3,500 or less, I'm going to buy it. And it was like $5,700 or something like that. It wasn't even close. So no dice, out of my price range. So, all right, so we're going to get started. So we're going to try to make a list, all of us, the top 10 guitar players of all time. We're going to start with some ground rules, though. Most of the people on the chat here are my people. So, my people that regularly watch the channel. So I know none of them will do this, but maybe a latecomer will come. And the number one rule is, please nobody say it's all subjective anyway. Obviously, we know it's subjective. We're just having fun, just talking about it because it's fun to talk about. Guitars are fun to talk about. That's why NAMM exists, right? Number two, let's not have, if you're going to introduce like a dark horse candidate, remember, this is the top 10 rock players of all time. We're going to do rock players, or rock, I guess, like we put Pat Metheny in there, I guess, crossover guys. But if you're going to pull somebody out of your butt and say this so-and-so is definitely in the top 10, you have to be able to back it up with, I don't know, what do you think, Gabe, the criteria? I would say top 10, they have to have at least, 2 or 3 classic solos, or, have written, 4 or 5 amazing songs, right? Something like that. Some sort of, there's got to be some sort of level of that they have to reach, right? What do you think? What should the criteria, the baseline criteria?
It's difficult to say. I think that really
it's all subjective, right?
No. What I think is, I think that the player has to have has to have a reputation. It can't be somebody that nobody's heard of.
No Cliff Clavins. Nobody out there do the Cliff Clavin, like, oh, my buddy Larry Johnson that used to live 3 doors down from me in Pretoria, South Africa. He's the best player ever, man.
Yeah.
You just haven't seen him play. Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough, it's like the question of oh, you're a musician. Are you a published musician? No.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Just for the sake of the fun of the show here, let's keep it to well-known guitar players. If you want to throw in somebody like Matteo Mancuso, I mean, he might be technically the best player on the planet. I mean, I've never seen anybody play so many clean notes in a row, so fast and so rhythmically, right in the pocket. I got to see him at NAMM. He was unbelievable. I mean, he's always unbelievable. The guy just doesn't make a mistake. But I think that what do we got here? Movies and stuff here. He's throwing out. Oh, he put Hackett in there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The world's biggest Hackett fan is to my right or left, depending on, I don't know. I guess you're on my right, but Gilmore, Hackett, Howe, Hazel. Who's Hazel? Isn't that the Hazel's the redheaded maid in that TV show from the 60s, right? Does he play guitar?
I think so.
Mr. Baxter. Look at everybody's nobody knows what I'm talking
about. Now that somebody has invoked the name of Hackett and Fripp in the same comment, I'm going to have to pull out my
Eddie Hazel, Funkadelic. Okay, I mean I guess if we're going to go that route, maybe Nile Rodgers would be up there too, right? People like to Maggot Brain. I know that one. I know Maggot Brain. I know that one. What's the other one that I know by Funkadelic? There's one other popular one they have. Anyway, well that answer is being generated. So we've got, yeah. So tell us why. Should Hackett be in the top 10, Gabe?
I probably would because he is definitely his own person, and he definitely takes the guitar into places where people didn't anticipate before. But if you go and you throw him into a situation when you say do some 12 bar, and he's right at home with it, but then he can go and stop and start playing something completely different. So he's definitely a man for all seasons.
So Jerry, you literally threw up the nice little softball toss for me here. I can get this the first time I'll be stepping on my soapbox this evening. So I have this thing about Prince that Prince is not even the fifth. He's the 5th best guitar player with the last name Nelson. So who are the 4 ahead of him?
Rick Nelson.
Rick Nelson.
Rick Nelson here, but not that Rick Nelson.
We have Gunnar Nelson. I'm putting Gunnar from the band Nelson. Gunnar's ahead of him. Who else? Willie Nelson. Charles Nelson Riley. I don't think Prince. I think Prince he's pretty good, but the one thing that I didn't think was that great is that they love to show him doing the solo in While My Guitar Gently Weeps, right? They're doing it was, and he just goes like this, He just does like the minor pentatonic. He's like, like that. I give that solo a 4 on the scale of 1 to 10. So,
well, I think that's part of the thing is that a lot of people that are not musicians or not guitarists, they go when they see somebody do something like that, and they think that must be this amazing player, and don't realize that when they go and they do like these blues solos that they learn that in the first month of picking up a guitar, and they and it's not a particularly good criteria to judge a guitar player.
Fracture, are we talking about the King Crimson song?
I think that is the only reason why people mention that word.
So this is crazy. Like Gabe is hijacking my show tonight. First, We've got the Hackett comment. Now we're getting in the world of Robert Fripp. I would say that Hackett and Robert Fripp are both on Gabe's list, right? Would they both be on your top 10 list?
Yeah.
All right. So let's do this. Let's start talking about criteria. All right, so I think that if we do like a weighted, I like, I'm analytical, so I think that number one, there's like a bunch of number ones for criteria. They have to be good songwriters, I think. They have to be good songwriter. I mean, good solo writer, just have a good sense of melody, good phrasing, just creative in the sense of melodic. Ideally, a great songwriter. I think to be the top 10, I think they do have to be a great songwriter. They have to be able to play the part, right? Play the part to the song, which leads me to my next little soapbox moment here. So how many of you guys have made a comment in this vein? The best note that you play is the note that you don't play, right? And it's all about playing to the song, and less is more, right? We say all these statements like that about how we want to be more economical and you don't have to play so many notes. Let the song breathe. But yet, when it comes time to name the top guitar players of all time, we can't wait to just spit out like our favorite overindulgent blues players, like one after another, right? The list is just laden with, kind of showy over the top players. So I think that technical skill, virtuosity, if you want to call it that would be weighted in there. I think that certainly, level of influence, as well as what else? Level of influence, and what am I missing here? So you have a songwriter, played well to the song, helped elevate other songs that he didn't write. Or she didn't write, maybe. What else? Technical skill, pioneer, right? Innovative. So innovative, influential. So that's what we've got. Innovative and influential. Yeah, John Cage's. Yeah, I like that. 433. Yeah, the greatest guitar solo of all time. Or the solo in "There's a Riot Going On" by Sly and the Family Stone, right? Isn't that song zero? Oh, there it is. Robert Hudson. Robert Hudson introducing the winner. My number one, well, I don't know if my number one is George Harrison or not. My number one is probably George Harrison. And George Harrison was technically great. I mean, it wasn't like he was a bad player. I mean, he didn't have the chops that Eddie has, or Eddie had. But he had the chops that Prince had. All right. So let's start naming them one by one. So who meets all these criteria? The other thing too is, one thing that people say occasionally is, or a lot of people say is, so-and-so is not that great because, he got everything from this person, but everybody got everything from the person before them. There's nobody that made it out of the ether, right? The only person that made it out of the ether was the guy that, or girl that, first started banging on a rock and being like, oh, that sounds good. Right. And then from there, it's just influence, one after another, after another, after another. So I think that we should start by doing the absolutes. What are the absolutes? Hendrix, definitely top 10, right? Of course. If not number one, Hendrix is going to make our list, right? Gabe?
I think so.
Gabe, we need smelling salts for Gabe here.
I get worried, but when people go and throw Hendrix out there, because it sometimes feels like they have to say that Hendrix is one of the top players. So that sort of concerns me. But I think that, his influence after a relatively short period of time, and the influence he had going forward was there's nobody that has dropped in, been around for a fairly short period of time, and had the influence that he did.
I would agree. I think that we'll get to what I think in a second. So Beck. So Gabe and I were talking about Beck earlier. So I think Beck probably would be in the top 10. I mean, he's so innovative. His innovation, gets him up there, even though his canon is somewhat incomplete. I think that the reason that Beck is not, usually dropped in the top 2 or 3 is because he just didn't have the, I mean, what if you were going to say the top 10 Jeff Beck songs, by the time you got to like number 6 or 7, you'd be digging pretty deep, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because we've ended his lovers.
You have to go and say, okay, we're not going to include the Yardbird stuff. We're not going to include his guest appearances. And we're going to just include the stuff on albums that were under his name, even if he didn't write it. right? And you go and you look at it, and you start off with, with stuff like, well, obviously, Cause We've Ended as Lovers, but that's Stevie Wonder, right? And then you go from there. I mean, I think I enjoy some of his poppier stuff. I like like There and Back. I like Too Much to Lose.
I don't even know that one. Too
Much to Lose is a Jan Hammer tune. So that's him, and the video is funny because it's Jeff Beck with David Gilmour, Ringo Starr, and Jan Hammer all horsing around in the studio.
Nice. I got to check that one out. What's it called again?
I think it's called Too Much to Lose.
Too Much to Lose. But there we go. So that's the point. So when we start naming movies and stuff, says if you doubt Hendrix's spot, go listen to Machine Gun and then come back. I mean, I know Machine Gun. I know all that. I don't know if I know every Hendrix song, because after he died, Hendrix said, you know who Hendrix said was the best? That's another. You guys are just, thank you so much for serving these up tonight, because this is great. So Hendrix is on like talk shows saying that Terry Kath was the best, saying that Randy California was the best. There are four different players that he said were the best. Who were the other two? Rory Gallagher. He said Rory Gallagher on the Dick Cavett show. He said, how does it feel to be the best guitar player in the world? He said, you'd have to ask Rory Gallagher.
That's where that story comes from. Whenever somebody asks who's the best guitar, how does it feel to be the best guitar player in the world, and the person mentions somebody else. Right. So I think,
Billy Gibbons. Nice. That's right. Movies and stuff. Yeah, you win. That's exactly right. That was the fourth one that Hendrix said was the best player of all time. So, and I'm sure, but so Rory Gallagher, the same deal, right? I mean, he's a great player. I just think that, I mean, let's face it. If the guys don't have songs that are popular, not as many people are going to hear them. They're not going to be as influential. And therefore, I guess in some greater pantheon of players, I would say, they would be further down the, the same reason that Cliff Clavin's neighbor, isn't the best player of all time, even if he wrote great songs. Hendrix also told Dick Cavett, I might be the best guitarist in this chair. Yes, he did say that. Yeah. So Blackmore, Richie Blackmore. So Richie Blackmore is a great example of a tasteful player that has like 6 or 7 killer solos, maybe more than that. But even his canon starts getting a little, although that's not really true, because like even the Street of Dreams solo, not Street of Dreams, the Stone Cold solo is a really good solo. I also like Richie Blackmore best for guys that have like chops, like, fast playing, almost like shredding a little bit. I like the way when he does that. I can't do it, but was it what key is that in? What is it? There. Is that something like that, right? Is that it? Something like that. Anyway, is this too loud? Am I blowing out the speakers here?
I think you're fine. It's just you can't talk and play at the same time because the compression will switch off.
Got it. Mike Oldfield on the list. Does anybody know? So Jim Crowell comes in and Dwayne Allman. We got some more stuff going on here. So I think that I just discovered Tommy Bolin like 6 months ago. I was actually working out and I wanted something different to listen to. So I said, let me listen to some Tommy Bolin. I knew Tommy Bolin as the guy that took over for Joe Walsh and the James Gang and took over for Richie Blackmore and Deep Purple. And I didn't really know much about him. And I didn't realize until 6 months ago that he plays on the Billy Cobham's album. The class, was it Spectrum?
He plays on he most notably plays on Stratus. So that tune,
Spectrum, right? That's the album, right? Yeah. And then he also plays on what's his name? Who's the other drummer that he played on? In '74, he played on another album. Somebody help me out here. We're talking about Tommy Bolin. But I dug deep. Anyway, I dug deep into Tommy Bolin. Number one, the reason that Jeff Beck decided to make, because we've decided to make Blow by Blow, is because he heard Tommy Bolin on Spectrum, and he totally decided to change his Alphonse help me out. Alphonse what? Mouzon? Is it Alphonse Mouzon? I think it was an Alphonse Mouzon's album. It's a really good album too. It came out in 74. Mm-hmm. And it's similar to Spectrum. Anyway, well, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so that's the reason. So after talking to Tommy Bolin and listening to Tommy Bolin play on Spectrum, Beck totally changed gears. If you dig deep into Tommy Bolin, you will find pre-Jeff Beck the whammy bar and the really great control of his pitch. Like using the whammy bar as an instrument and playing at the same time, kind of like what he did late in his career, like what he does at the live gig with Tal Wolkenfeld. He and Vinny Colaiuta. Mm-hmm. He's got that sound, that sound that he played later in his career. He got most of that, or a lot of that, from Tommy Bolin. And Tommy Bolin's solos on songs like Post Toasty, the Teaser album is really good stuff. So I definitely, if you want to check out a guitar player that you may not know a lot about, then I would definitely check out Tommy Bolin. Yes, that's good. Now we're getting into acoustic players. James Taylor, Jim Croce, both excellent players. Paul Simon, right, was an excellent picker. I mean, Tommy Emmanuel, I guess you kind of put him in, but again, he also kind of suffers from not right material, right? He doesn't have Angelina. He's only got a couple songs that are really his. Vince Gill said that Joe Walsh was the best. Nice. Joe Walsh said that Vince Gill was the best. No, he didn't say that. All right, so we've got a lot here. So we've got Hendrix, we think is in the top 10 for sure. I would definitely put Jimmy Page in the top 10. Was Jimmy Page not mentioned yet simply because it's so obvious that Jimmy Page belongs in the top 10? Is that why? Glenn Campbell. Yeah, Glenn Campbell. It's going to be tough to make the list now. You guys are messing this up for me now. Now I can't make a list. All right. We may have to loop back around with this live stream because Glenn Campbell. All right. So what do we have here? We've got, let me go back here. Gabe, go back through the list from the beginning of the chat and say them out loud, and I'll tell you if they make like my rough top 10. My rough top 10 has like 20 in it. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. I have to start. Right. Gabe is going to go back
down. Okay, here we go. So Gilmore, Hackett.
Gilmore, yes. Gilmore, yes. Hackett, no. This is me, just mine. Okay.
Howe.
No.
Hazel.
No, Hendrix. I don't know. Who else? Hendrix, yes.
Clapton.
Yeah, maybe.
Townsend.
No.
Knopfler.
Oh, that's a good one. No, not top. He wouldn't be my top 10.
Fripp.
No. And these are, again, this is just a matter of opinion, right? But
Martin Barre.
Who?
Barre, Martin Barre.
Marg Helgenberger from CSI Miami?
No, Martin Barre.
Oh, Chet Atkins is going. Yeah, Martin Barre, right? Is it Barre or is it Barre? Is that you say? Is it Barre?
Okay.
Yeah, he made up, right?
Maybe. We have Jimmy Page did make it in already. But so the next list, Alex Lifeson.
I hate it's blasphemy because I was weaned on Rush, but I have to say no.
Jimmy Page, again,
yes.
Jimi Hendrix, Richie Blackmore.
Yes.
Steve Morse.
Oh, he's another good one. No, though, not in my top.
Steve Vai.
No.
Prince.
These are tough because these are all amazing players that could easily be. These could be number one on any list. Prince, no.
Brian.
Why not Prince? Because Prince is the fifth best guitar player named Nelson, so he would be fifth at the best. Gunnar Nelson, no.
Brian May.
Brian May. Oh, that's another good one. No, he just misses it.
SRV.
Not for me. I know he's probably like in the top 3, but not for me.
Yeah.
All Shredder's on. Any Shredders to make the list. Now the pressure is on to put.
Now we get to it because we had Vi and we have Edward.
Oh, Eddie Van Halen, yeah, for sure. Eddie Van Halen 100% makes the list. Yeah.
Yeah. Harrison. Well, yeah.
George Harrison, yeah, definitely in my list. Yeah.
Roger McGuinn.
Roger McGuinn?
Yeah.
No, not top 10. Dina Delaney does not make it either.
Carlos Santana, no.
No. Carlos Santana just figured out that if you play the Dorian scale right, if you do like a that's all you gotta do, right? Just sound like Carlos Santana.
So here's one, Chuck Berry, which
Chuck Berry?
Yeah. I think he was mentioned not as a candidate, but his name was mentioned. Chuck Berry should definitely be.
Chuck Berry would be like the one that I would put on there that I personally I like it. I don't love, the 50s music in general, but I would say he would have to be on the list. Yeah, he would make the top 10.
So you get to Terry Kath.
I love Terry Kath. I'll tell you, you guys never seen the Chicago Live at Tanglewoods? Maybe the best live concert video. I mean, it's the video itself is not great quality, but it was from 1970. They're all at the height of their powers. They sound unbelievable. And the set list is awesome, right? It's got, beginnings, and does anybody really know what time it is? Question 67 and 68. What else? I mean, all the early songs, they just sound, Make Me Smile. Terry sounds amazing. Robert sounds amazing. And Peter sounds amazing. But I would say no. Mark Bowen did Bang a Gong, no relation.
Then we did get to Blackmore, Billy Gibbons.
Billy Gibbons, nah, not my list. No.
Wayne Allman, that's a.
Dwayne Allman doesn't make my list, but Dickie Betts may make my top 10 list.
Mm-hmm.
I can easily pick out 5 Dickie Betts solos. I mean, Dickie Betts solo in Memory of Elizabeth Reed, where he does that. What is it? If you guys know that part in the solo, it's such a sweet part. I'm not doing it justice. Paul Gilbert. You know what I love about Paul Gilbert? Like, doesn't he always come off as like the nicest guy ever?
Yeah.
He can't not be a nice guy.
Well, I mean, he definitely transitioned from being the shredder on stage with other guys to being sort of the elder statesman of guitar tutelage, and
so now movies and stuff is really screwing me up here, because Derek Trucks is probably would be on my list. I forgot about Derek Trucks, but I personally think that Derek Trucks is by far the best slide player of all time. I think that he reinvented how to play the slide, and it's mind blowing. I listen to Midnight in Harlem, and I'm like, I could jam to that. Let me go grab the slide, and then it just sounds like absolute shit. I can't even get one good note to come out. I certainly don't sound like Derek Trucks. Yeah, if you guys don't know any Tedeschi Trucks, I would say, you could always check him out when he was with the Almonds, but check out Midnight in Harlem. It's a great song too. It's got a great groove to it. Tony Iommi is another one that's kind of an enigma, because using my criteria of being a great songwriter and having lots of great riffs, Tony Iommi would definitely be close to being on my list.
And also remember, he has a handicap because 2 of his fingers are the last knuckle of 2 of his fingers are missing.
Yeah.
And he basically said that he took the kind of bottles you use for mustard and ketchup, and he molded them into fingertips to put on his fingers. And just to think about what he did to keep playing.
The only bad thing about that was, for the rest of his life, everything he ate tasted like mustard.
Maybe.
John Petrucci. Yeah, that's another one. I can't. I just realized at the end of the day, I'm not qualified to make this list. I don't know. John Petrucci, the stuff is like crazy, but I'm not a fan. As a matter of fact, I probably shouldn't make this comment. I won't. I'm gonna restrain myself. The comment is about a certain band that, if I could go back in time, I would put them on Skinner's Plane. It's not really that funny. Or I'd have Kobe Bryant fly them from to to fro. Buckethead. Yeah, those guys, if we're going to do those guys, Petrucci and Buckethead, not really, I guess it's not really, it's apples and oranges too, but you have to put Matteo Mancuso. Richard, are you still on? If you're still on, what do you think of Matteo Mancuso? If you guys haven't checked out the Ball Shredder, definitely check out his channel. He reviews a lot of inexpensive guitars, but he does a really good job with them. He's a funny guy. He's very dry humor. He does a lot of cool shorts. But I like his video style because he just turns the camera around and it's very like earthy. Not earthy. I don't know what I'm talking about. I need a third person. I need Simon here to like cut me off or something. Gabe is giving me too much time. Roy Clark. Yeah, Roy Clark can play anything in any genre.
Well, so wait a minute. We were talking about Petrucci and you were talking about Matteo.
Matteo
Mancuso is he is technically unique in that I think that a lot of what he does has to do with his particular physicality and whatever his situation is with his hands, his hands are not the same as the rest of the human species. He has very tiny hands with very long fingers. It's like
he's short. I met him. He's shorter than me. I'm probably gravity's got me down to 5'6" now, so he's probably 5'4".
Yeah, and I was just comparing him like with Paganini, where Paganini had Marfan syndrome, and the violin. They say there's a reason why he could do things that nobody else could. I think Matteo has some unique physical aspects because he really wants people to understand his technique. He really
Paganini. He was the premier of Italy during World War II, right?
No, he was before that. I think 1800s. Premier.
There's no premier, first of all. Todd Rundgren, Utopia is a masterpiece. You know what is a masterpiece is Something Anything. Well, maybe not a masterpiece, but it's pretty damn good, right? The first two records are great. The first two sides, it's a double album. The third side is awesome. And side 4, Tommy Tedesco is another good choice. You guys are coming up with all kinds of good stuff. We have a smart crowd here. We need to dumb it down a little bit next time. I need to get dumber fans. How do I get dumber fans? I need to do dumber stuff. No, I have like 3 things. Oh, Nugent. No, Nugent. I think Nugent is like all hype. Nugent's like
he's a performance artist.
What's his name? Like Paul Stanley, right?
Well, I think of Nugent as being more like being like the Andy Kaufman of guitar.
How about like Joni Mitchell? Where would Joni Mitchell be with all crazy open tunings and all the songs she wrote? I mean, she would have to be maybe up there, right? So we're totally in the weeds now. All right, we may have to do a top 20.
Well, you also have to go to remember. Don't get lost on Mike Oldfield, which was an interesting thing that was.
Oh, Mike Oldfield. So let me tell you. Do you guys know the story? Who knows the Mike Oldfield story? Raise your hand. Do you know the Mike Oldfield story? So Mike Oldfield was like 18 years old, and they let him run just after hours or just do whatever he wanted in the studios. I don't think it was it Virgin yet? I don't think it was. Huh?
I'm not sure.
But he literally had like 6 months to just fuck around in the studio, do whatever he wanted. I have to get rid of that. Do whatever he wanted, and then he came up with Tubular Bells, and so he put Tubular Bells out, and it did exactly what everybody expected it to do. It didn't go anywhere, but then The Exorcist picked it up. A truncated version of the first theme became a big hit, and that album went crazy. And then I think I know it was the biggest selling record in Virgin's catalog for a number of years. I think it sold 4 or 5 million copies. And I know he plays the Farfisa organ on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Richard Wright's favorite instrument.
The Farfisa organ?
Yeah.
What is a Farfisa organ? Is it like
a portable organ? It's a string. I've seen pictures of them. They're, was it made in Italy? It was this little
18.
organ.
I said that 18, right? Yeah.
Designed to be broken down and put back together.
Let's roll back the tape. Didn't I say 18? I thought I said 18.
I think I said 18.
Yeah.
18. He's just mentioning that he did the demos at 16. But he followed him to keep an albatross around his neck because he couldn't handle it.
That reminds me of a song. Okay, so that one.
So here's one that we have to that it has to be reckoned with, which is Angve.
15 million. Are you serious? 15 million people bought that crap? Oh my God. Have you guys ever listened to it? It goes on and on. The best part, I'll tell you, the best part of the entire album is where, you know, it's going like, right? Those little things where he does that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm breaking up. All right. How about now? I have to restrain myself a little bit. Is that better? Should I try to keep it at a lower volume? All right.
That's fine.
So we're gonna continue this. We're gonna go. We may go a full hour tonight.
We got to talk about Angve.
All right, we're gonna compose ourselves. We're gonna be back in a minute, and while you're waiting, you guys get to hear. I took a couple originals. So people have been asking me about originals, if I have originals, and I've got hundreds of originals that I've written, and I'm going to play. Should I play the acoustic one? I'll play this one. This one was a video I did, so see what you think of this. I'll just play a couple minutes of it.
Sure feels nice when you get it right. You don't fall into no second chance with a final romance. You better stop to dance. Oh love, well I know the word when you give it all you got to your girl, but still get hurt. On fire, but it's all the same. I don't know why I'm willing to sacrifice everything that I wanna be. She do it again, oh, but she lost her friends. She don't ask twice, she don't, but she never knows. A state of mind, and if I buy my time, I get yours and mine. Oh, love is just a simple twist of fate, or as some might say, hell at heaven's gate.
Did Cat Stevens use a lot of open tunings? I don't think so. I know a lot of his songs. I think maybe a couple songs, but I think they're mostly in standard. But I could be wrong. Maybe I learned something today. I learned a bunch of things today. Yeah, I do not rock. I'm decent at best. You know what my superpower is? I have a superpower. I'm gonna let you guys in on it. I am completely. I can sit comfortably in my mediocrity. Tom Schultz is an awesome player too. But you know who did play every song in open tuning? Literally every song, and most of them her own tunings, was Joni Mitchell. Alan Holdsworth. There's another one, Alan Holdsworth. So what do we put? Joni Mitchell, Alan Holdsworth. We have so many people on this.
Yeah, I was going to say Holdsworth because I'm in a Holdsworth mood, and you know, when you get in a Holdsworth mood, it's hard to get out.
State of mind.
What was that?
I'm in a Holdsworth state of mind.
State of mind. That would have been an interesting matchup. Billy Joel and Alan Holdsworth on the same stage.
I saw Billy Joel in Hartford in 2000, I don't know, whatever. But the show was not very enjoyable for this reason. Oh, I thought movies and stuff was wrapping me up. I thought I read we've reached the conclusion. Like he's not saying anything else of any worthiness. So let's wrap this up. Anyway, Billy Joel had like 3 48-track boards out, you know, in the audience in all 3 directions, and he had like 30 guys on stage, and everything sounded just like the record. I mean, exactly like the record. I would have loved to have seen him out there with a 4-piece band just rocking it out, but that's not what I saw. I don't know what the point of my story is. What's my best concert ever? You know what my best concert ever may be? The Jellyfish at Toad's Place. That was unbelievable. Fountains of Wayne at Toad's Place. I like those gigs with like 800, 1,000 people, a band that you don't really know a lot about playing like a strong 1 hour set. Those are my favorite shows. And I don't like stadium shows. All right. So all right, let's figure this out now. So we are going to have to come back around on this. So I'm going to announce the winner. Watch, 17 is going to drop down to like 2 once I announce the winner. So Paul Bridges is the winner of the Enya guitar. I don't think Paul Bridges is on, but Paul, congratulations. I'll give him a week to get in touch with me. How is he going to get in touch with me? How's he going to know? I must have his email. Anyway, and then after a week, if Paul Bridges, I only say that because I don't know Paul Bridges, but Paul Bridges was definitely registered. All right. Well, we still have 15 left, so people are still hanging in there. All right. So we have about 25. So I think what we need to do before we go back to making the list is we have to define the criteria better, because we're all over the place here and you guys are coming up with some really good lists. But let's talk about, let's do this thing. We're going to close with this. Let's talk about people that definitely should not be on the list, right? I mean, first of all, you can just take Rolling Stones nonsense. But I was looking at the Book of Rock lists, which was published in like 83 or something like that. Number 1, they had Steve Jones on there from the Sex Pistols at like number 13. If Steve, now that might be the one guy on that list that I'm better than. And that is definitely setting a low bar. I mean, Steve Jones, definitely not. I mean, ridiculous. David Gilmour. David Gilmour's got to be in my top 10 for sure. Yeah, he's just got too many sweet souls. Slash.
Yeah, that's a good one. Slash.
Yeah, Slash is so tasteful. Man, I'll tell you what, his solos are so. How many songs were written, became songs that were first warm-up exercises? I think I have 3. There's, the what is it? Right. That was one, and then
that was the one.
And then I think also was it? What's Dream On? I'm right. I'm playing this exactly the way they played on the record. I'm exactly as out of tune. I don't know. I'm not a big Tom Morel. Somebody mentioned John Butler before. John Butler, definitely. Ocean is a really interesting song. I think it's too long for me. It's very, very repetitive, especially since it's a song that's based around a pedal tone. But it's cool. I mean, the parts themselves, the 4 or 5 parts are really cool, and he's got excellent chops. But I don't think most of John Butler's stuff is more kind of pop rocky. I think I don't really know enough about him. I guess that's what I have to say. Tom Morello,
that didn't get in, that nobody's mentioned yet, which we talked about earlier, that I've got to take a partisan attitude towards, which is Eric Johnson.
Yeah, I know. He loves Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson would not make my top 10 if for no other reason that I saw him in concert, and he literally plays with his back to the audience. Mm-hmm. He's like the Michael Stipe of guitar players, right? In the early days, Michael Stipe had his back turned to the audience. He like plays like this. Back turned to the audience. He's like getting into it with the band. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lifeson is definitely. See, like these are the ones. The tough calls are like, where do we put Alex Lifeson? Where do we put? And Zach, I'm not dismissing. I shouldn't say that. Zach has been a long time fan of the channel, and I can't thank Zach enough. But I am dismissing Tom Morello. I like Tom Morello as a person. I think he's a cool guy, but I'm not really. And what band I don't like at all is Tool. I just can't get into that. I don't know. It's like what tinnitus would sound like if it was music. That's what Tool is. It's like, it's a sound you don't actually want to hear. It's like when my doorbell gets stuck. When my doorbell gets stuck in place, it plays a Tool song. Yeah, Alex Lifeson might be in my top 10. All right, I'm gonna have to make like a top. We're gonna do top 20, I think, and then we'll from the top 20 we'll get to 10. But there are so many of these guys. Can we agree on? Can we come up with at least? Can we agree on three players that would make the top 10? Can we all agree that Jimmy Page? Somebody said no. I don't think. Is there anybody we can all agree on? There's 13 of us left. Is there anybody we can all agree on?
You can agree on Hendrix.
We all agree on Hendrix, right? Chime in if you don't agree with Hendrix. All right, Hendrix it is. Hendrix. All right, Hendrix makes the cut. Yeah, I agree with Rick on that. I would say now the sad thing is George Harrison doesn't even make some top 20. Yeah, that's a good one too. Now we're gonna get back through. I would say though, honest to goodness, you guys are gonna name a bunch of other ones. No, not yeah, rock primarily, yes, Jerry. That's a good question. I would say that those four right there would unequivocally make my list: Hendrix, Harrison, Page, and Eddie Van Halen, because they all have the qualities that I would rate. Great songwriters, played well to the song, were incredibly innovative, inspired a lot of other players. I mean, those guys, those four guys, who inspired more players than those four guys? Right? I mean, they were the most influential. I was reading something recently. I feel like I told this on the last live stream. Did I tell the story about the Beatles effect, how Fender was trying to make a deal with CBS to sell the company in '63, and they were going to sell it for like $2.1 million, and then he sold it in '65 for like $8 or $9 million, because the Beatles had hit, and obviously it changed the entire landscape. Yeah, Yellow Cat, he won't make everybody's list. He would make mine, but I think, can we all agree, or can the vast majority of us agree with minimal dissension that Hendrix, Harrison, Page, and Eddie Van Halen should all be in the top 10 guitar players of all time? Going once. How do we do this? We just sit here until somebody. Gilmore, yeah, Gilmore too. All right, so so this might be easier than I thought. Now we have five. Gilmore's got to be in there too. And I'm not a Pink Floyd fan. I'm not a big Pink Floyd fan. And I don't even love the solos, but I know they're great, right? I mean, the solo to what is it? Right. So all right. So let's do that. Let's start with that 5, and we're gonna have to reconvene. We're gonna have to do a part 2 where we finish off this list. That sounds good, right? We don't want to sit here all night. Maybe we can have Simon come in and talk about the greatest. Who's the best Australian guitar player of all time? We could do it by that. We could do like American and British.
Is Tommy Emmanuel from Australia?
Tommy Emmanuel. So there you go. I think Tommy Emmanuel is the best Australian guitar player of all time. Joe Robinson is really good too, though. But I'll say Tommy Emmanuel. How about, that's what we should do. We should name them by country, the best guitar player in each country. Who's the best guitar player from Liechtenstein? Does anybody know any guitar players from Liechtenstein? Is it hard to get a citizenship in Liechtenstein? I bet it is. John Butler is originally from Liechtenstein. So of the Liechtensteinians, John Butler would be John Butler's Australian. No, that's what you. Fred.
Does Liechtenstein even have a music store?
That's a good question.
Because Liechtenstein is like 5 blocks wide?
Yeah. I think Liechtenstein, yeah, you can actually, there have been like the best baseball players, the guy that threw the ball the furthest of all time actually threw the ball across the, it's funny, I'm talking like I don't know baseball. I'm like a baseball junkie. I have like everything memorized, all kinds of crazy stats. And I'm like the guy that's best at baseball that threw the baseball the furthest. Like that's a stat. But anyway, they're just this way. I mean, there's a guy that threw the baseball. I can't get it out. It's a beautiful country. All right. I'm sure it is a beautiful country. Australia or Liechtenstein? I think it's got like one of the highest. I think it has the highest birth rate of because last year all 3 of the babies survived.
It's like the lowest birth rate of any country on Earth is Vatican City.
Vatican City. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's crazy though. Are they using contraception? Is that why?
You would think that at some point the Pope would go and say, "Hey, just for a goof, let's get some people in here to give birth." You know. I just came back from there, so.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. I think. Let me do this. Let me give away a set of rock locks here. Oh, by the way, if you haven't tried the rock lock, these guys all know the rock lock. There's no reason to do. I should probably dump one in there for the. Although if anybody that's watching the replay and hung in there for all 51 minutes, they probably. Oh, what do we got? German guitarists like Schinker, Willie John Roth. Do you guys? Oh, here. See if you know this one. Was it? Is empty, can't remember. I used to know that. Fly to the Rainbow. Who knows Fly to the Rainbow? I don't remember it anymore. But Fly to the Rainbow was like the first. I think it was the first Scorpions album. The drums sound like they were the guys playing Tupperware. It literally sounds like Tupperware. It's a poorly recorded album. But what was I saying? Oh, so how about UFO? UFO is a good band, right? You like UFO? Do you know how many UFO songs do you know, Gabe?
None.
Doctor, Doctor.
Okay.
Doctor, Doctor, please. How about Lights Out? Lights Out in London. Lights Out in London. Don't know that one either. Nope. I might have just lost my commission for this video just by singing that one there. And the best one is Love to Love You. How many of you out there know the song Love to Love You? Mystic green and blue, love to love you. All right. Okay, so we've got 5. Everybody's in agreement, and we are going to reconvene. I think in 2 weeks we're going to do this again. I think Simon's going away. Gabe, are you available in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Maybe next time we'll do something more controversial, so I can say more crazy stuff, because this really didn't allow me to fully, say the things I want. Oh, top #1 cowbell, Don't Fear the Reaper. There really is a cowbell in that song. If you listen to it, I thought it was a joke, but there really is a cowbell in there. There's a, you know what? One of my all-time favorite solos is the solo to Burning for You. That's a great guitar solo. Caravan is a song called Love to Love You. Caravan, like this early 70s band, that band Caravan.
Yeah, that's Caravan's a what do you call it? A Canterbury group, right?
I'm going to leave you guys with this story. This is great. You guys will enjoy this. So 2 things. So Van Morrison was known to be an eccentric. And in the 25th anniversary Rolling Stone, there's a story about how Van Morrison hadn't done an interview in like 20 years. And apparently the way the guy tells the story is that he agreed to allow this like 22-year-old kid to interview him. They're going to meet at this restaurant in Boston. So they make eye contact. They're both about to walk in. They're like 20 feet apart. Van Morrison turns around and runs. Now, he's a short, portly guy. So the guy's running after him. They run through an alley and this and that, and they finish in some other restaurant. And the guy and Van Morrison's sitting at a table, and the guy comes and sits at the table, and they start the interview as if nothing had happened, if none of that had transpired, that Van Morrison actually didn't try to get away. But that was pretty good. But then if you listen to the box set on Caravan, the one of the box sets, they're recording Caravan, and Van's like, yo, man, can we do it outside, man? And they're like, nah, Van, we can't record outside. I told you already. We got to record it in the room. There's going to be too much noise outside. He's like, all right. So he starts singing again, Then he's like, wait, stop. He goes, yo, man, I'm just not feeling it. Can we do it outside? And like over and over again, he keeps asking the guy if he could do it outside. And he's like, no, you can't get it outside. Just go with it. And he keeps stopping him over and over and over again. So finally, I guess they relent, and he records the song outside in the backyard, in the back of the parking lot. So that's it. There's nobody here to like be with a gaping smile. Gabe is very stone faced right now. He's just listening very intently.
Well, it's, I did do the 30-mile bike ride, so my blood sugar is low.
What happened if your blood sugar is low? And soon enough, they're going to have a thing where if your blood sugar is low, I can assist you. Like you're going to be able to give CPR through video. Speaking of which, this is pretty cool, kind of scary too. Did you know that the new Blackwell chip, which is the new chip that NVIDIA is introducing or has introduced, it can learn from video. So no text, no prompts, no words, just watching video. It can learn how to do things from watching video. That's unbelievable. That's really is. Now I'm amazed. I wasn't amazed before. I haven't been amazed since we landed on the moon, but now I'm amazed again. All right.
Well, here's a little. Here is.
Gabe's going to leave us with a good story.
When you said landing on the moon, they said that the most technically difficult thing after landing on the moon was repairing Hubble.
Repairing Hubble.
They said it was the most dangerous thing and the most technically difficult thing they had done since the moon.
Now, of course, Gabe is talking about the Tommy John surgery that Carl Hubble got.
And they were around all these objects that were incredibly sharp and dangerous, and they were dealing with screws that were very tiny and stuff like that. It was very dangerous.
So he's telling us why repairing the Hubble telescope is dangerous.
Sorry.
It's because there's sharp stuff in screws. That has nothing to do with it's out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Right?
And they had to, when they did the work, they had to have one person just holding the feet of the other person doing the work.
If you let go, you fall.
No, the issue was
you keep falling until you die of malnutrition.
No, they were all tethered, but the issue was that if the guy turns a screw like this, then his body goes like this. So you have to have somebody there to hold him to keep so that he can actually do the work.
That's like how many, back when we were kids.
How many people to screw in a light bulb?
You're Polish, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can say Polish was they picked on the Polish people. I don't know why. But how many I'm what am I? I'm Liechtensteinian. So how many Liechtensteinians does it take to screw in a light bulb, right? 1 to hold the light bulb and 12 to turn the chair or something like that. Oh, here's an inappropriate joke. So why do what is it? Oh, I know. Why do blonde women have bruised belly buttons?
I'm not going anywhere near that.
Because there's blonde men too. All right, everybody. The jokes are free. Everything's free. Anyway.
Oh, wait, there is one thing here that we might want to bring up, which is because Rick brought this up about how challenging it is to tune a Rickenbacker 360-12, which is we should talk about tuning 12 strings.
We will. Next week, we're going to talk about that. So let me tell you something. So Dick, oh gosh, I can't remember his last name now. Jeez. I cannot believe I can't think of his name. Anyway, the guy that invented the 2 different directions. It was a great idea in theory, but he definitely didn't play guitar. It's the worst. When I restrung, I remember the first time I did it, it was just like putting up the basketball hoop that I have. I'm a pretty handy guy, and the directions said, all the reviews said it's a great hoop, it's the best one, but it's very difficult to put together. I'm like, how hard could it's a basketball hoop, right? Every single screw was interdependent, right? If you tighten something too much, the next thing wouldn't work. It was absolutely ridiculous. And that's what restringing we're talking about tuning though, aren't we? Yeah, I was talking about restringing. Damn, I'm not even.
Well, it's all part of the same.
Yeah, restringing it is such a pain in the ass. Tuning it is can be a challenge. The thing you have to do when you're tuning a 12 string, the best thing to do, first of all, the most important thing to do is make sure that you're paying attention to what you're doing. Like have some continuity. When I tune the guitar, like I look and see like what the feel of the guitar is, how much I have to give to get it up. I always try to tighten it up into tune. So you want to practice, make it part of your practice. If you do that, number 1, it'll go quicker. Number 2, you'll feel more of a sense of accomplishment. And number 3, you'll get better at it because you're mindful of what you're doing. But the best way to do it is to really just get a approximate tune, get them close. Get them all within whatever inside the little window, whatever your tuner has on it, and then you go back and fine tune. Now, I didn't put this in the video because I didn't want to like set people into like different dimension, but really what you need to do after that is most of the 12 strings, maybe not a Rick, but even a Rick probably, the intonation is always going to be off slightly. So your best bet is to, you know, play a D chord, you know, play an E chord, and just make those really, really tiny tweaks. If you don't have the ear for it, then just trust the tuner. But if you're 100% in tune, and it still sounds out of tune a little bit, just try to tweak a little bit. The main thing is try to get it in tune with itself, and you have to kind of tune it to what you're playing sometimes, especially with a cheaper one, right? If you're playing stuff like what are some songs that are way up the neck? There's not many that are way up the neck, like Pleasant Valley Sunday. You know, that one is. Because up the neck, you know, you start getting those intonation issues. If you're playing, if everything is, you know, everything is down in, you know, first to fifth position, then you should be able to get away with just regular standard tuning. If you, when you go up, and how do you do that? Well, what you can do is you could just tune up like this. See if this is a B. Tune that note, right? Tune that note. If you're playing up here. On my acoustic 12, tune the main, then the octave strings. Yeah, you could. That's good. You know, so that is good because there are no heavy strings. The octave strings aren't heavy strings, so there's no really thick string that's going to pull you out of tune too much. But I would do the relative tuning on each of them first. But that's probably fairly, as long as you're not really out of tune. If you're grossly out of tune, then even, you know, pulling that octave 6 up into tune is going to throw them out of pitch if it's really out of tune, like if you're putting strings on. So, all right, we're north of an hour here. So I really appreciate everybody's time. Great conversation. I really enjoyed this. Gabe, thank you so much for doing this with me. And we've got 5 next week, or in a couple of weeks. I'll let you guys know. We will figure out who the other 5 are, and then I'll make a video on it, which is going to be the best part because I'm going to get all kinds of people telling me what a, you know, anyway, people on YouTube are crazy. Not you guys, though. All right. Have a great evening.